Hi, Marie. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Ron?
Very good,
Everyone,
thank
I
you.
have the pleasure of introducing Ron Forzani, real estate attorney serving Somerset, Hunterdon, Morris County, and points unknown. Ron, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Marie.
So, Ron, you picked three topics that you thought might be of interest to buyers, sellers, and those just concerned as to what's going on in the market. Let's start with the first. There's a new COVID addendum to new contracts.
That's correct. The standard New Jersey Realtor contract has several addendums that can be added to the contract. And now they've just added a new addendum relating to the coronavirus, which really provides some flexibility to both buyers and sellers if there's some kind of governmental closure, if they can't get the inspectors into the house, if we can't record documents in order to extend the closing date. And the contract provides for a 30-day extension unless you put a different number in there. And if it can't be completed within that 30-day period, then either side can cancel the contract without any penalty to either side. So it sort of adds a little bit of flexibility to the contract because we don't know, the course of things right now. So in order to get the deals done, we'll have the opportunity to add this addendum. I think myself and probably several other attorneys were already adding some language to our contracts to provide a little bit more flexibility, but now we actually have an addendum to the contract.
And Ron, a lot of times when we work together, whether on one side or the other, you always add a little clause that says there are no automatic waivers. Is that kind of what this is, that if everything doesn't happen exactly as planned, as long as there's good faith, we keep it going?
Yes, pretty much. And we'll continue to put that in the contracts, and that there's no automatic waivers, but also because that would deal with specific timelines. But this, I think the COVID amendment even goes a little broader, that if we can't close, for example, a seller can't get a mover to come into the house to get their stuff out, that we can add a little bit of extra time to the closing if it needs be, or if a buyer's bank needs a little bit more time in order to provide the mortgage. It just provides a little bit more flexibility in terms of contract language.
Well, that's really interesting. And it sounds as if it's even-handed for both buyers and sellers.
I think it can be beneficial to either the buyer or the seller.
Oh, great. And Ron, we ourselves have had this, and I thought on topic number two, perhaps you can talk about some of the more creative ways that we're getting things signed that had to be notarized or other such. And we're really glad you have a giant window in your office.
Yeah, well, that we've used the giant window in the office before. Some people don't feel comfortable coming into the building, which we understand. And what we're doing is putting the documents in an envelope and having them take it out to their car, and or taking it right outside the door and just signing. As long as we can see them sign, we can notarize from in the building. Also, if they come into the building, and I see this happening everywhere, where people are being very careful. We're only asking necessary parties to come to the closing. So even though other people are important to the transaction, like realtors and mortgage people, we're asking them not to come to the closing so that there's less chance of transmission of the virus. So we just have, usually just buyers appear at the closing. Sellers will sign their documents in advance for the most part, and those documents will be Federal Express to the closing to have as few people at the closing as possible.
And Ron, did you mention that also there are more documents where the buyers used to sit in the office and sign for a good half hour? That can be done now with DocuSign?
Well, what's happening is that the lenders on their portals are having people uh, pre-sign the non-essential documents. Not all lenders, but several are doing that, so that when you come to the closing, there are that many less documents to sign, so that you can get in and out of the closing much more quickly.
That's a
So,
great idea.
that is very helpful. And eventually, we're going to have something called remote notarization that just passed through the legislature, but I don't believe the governor has signed it yet, or if he has, it's just very recently in that last day or so. And there's a 90-day waiting period for that. But eventually, there's going to be remote notarization, which may also allow more distancing of people and still completing the closing. So, we're trying to keep people safe by keeping the closing, keep people as far apart as possible, and cleaning the tables before they come and after they leave, and also providing everyone with a new pen, and then allowing them to keep the pen so that we're not passing that pen around from person to person.
Those are great ideas, and I guess they're the perfect segue into title issues. And what's your take on that? Has anything
Well,
changed?
yeah, there's quite a lot of changes regarding title, and the title companies are actually rising to the challenge. Most of the county offices are now closed to the public, so uh, most of the searching is done online, and for the most part, they're able to get the searches done, and also to do a rundown search on the day of closing to make sure that there's no new liens against the property. They're also recording deeds and mortgages electronically, as opposed to sending someone down to the county office with a check and having them deliver it. So it's a little bit different procedure. Um, these online services are used, and they have access to um, the county records, so that they can actually put the deed or the mortgage right on the county records.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I know there was an issue with some of them being closed and only letting title companies that they knew. It seems as if now they're really working hard to fill that and make it work.
They're trying, and the title companies have been talking with the local representatives to try to get uh, allow searchers to have at least some limited access to the search room, so that they can search more difficult properties where um, you may need older documents than maybe online. So they're working on that right now. I think the governor has been open to at least listening to other ideas on these kind of issues, because a closing is considered right now an essential service. So we need to do various new things to get it done.
Well, that's really great. It really does seem as if everyone's working together. But with all the remote people, what would you say are holding up closings the most? And are you finding that that's actually getting smoothed over?
I think that the most difficult issue would be whether or not people, are working. Most people, as long as their jobs remain, they should be able to close. There may be some time lapses, for example, getting the inspector in, getting the appraiser to come to the house, and also the lenders sometimes need a little bit of extra time. But overall, we've been able to close, um, pretty much on time.
Well, that's great news. And I know our town in Bernards Township has tried to make the fire inspections and the certificate of records clearance as automated as it can. And we're just delighted that it actually, just as always, seems that rather than making things more difficult, everyone's really going to work together and come up with solutions to problems we didn't even know we had 3 weeks ago.
Right. Yes. But certainly getting the COs or getting the smoke detector certifications. That's changed now. A lot of times you can make your application and they'll ask you to fill out an affidavit rather than sending someone out. So those things, the towns are recognizing that there are ways that they can make this work, and they are working with us to try to get that done.
Well, that's terrific. And Ron, you're right here at 222 Mount Airy Road, and Ron's number is 908-221-0904. And Ron, do you have anything to wish everyone and the general public?
Yeah, I just wish everybody stays safe and healthy and happy. And if you need to have a closing done, there are facilities available, and we're certainly willing to help you with that.
Thank you so much, and good health to you. And we can see as much as we can. Stay safe, stay home, and let's use the resources that are trying to help us do that and still get things done.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.